What's up mga ka-Axis? In this video, I'll be discussing the DH notation and DH frame rules. Denowitz-Hartenberg notation. Jacques Denowitz and Richard Hartenberg introduced this convention in 1955 in order to standardize the coordinate frames for spatial linkage. DH notation is used to solve the forward kinematics of a mechanical manipulator. Frames. In a mechanical manipulator, it is a coordinate system that the manipulator uses to know where it is and where to go. There are generally three types of frames used on a mechanical manipulator. These are the base or world frame, user frame, and tool frame. Before we assign our frames in our mechanical manipulator, let us first discuss the DH frame preliminary rules. Rule number 1. Decide first the three views you want to project on your isometric drawing. We will be using the front, top, and right side view. Then rule number 2. Identify the center of your frames. Rule number 3. Then draw your color-coded arrows based on your decided three views. Let us use blue for Z, red for X, and green for Y. Rule number 4. Remember to make the arrows of Z and X axes easy to see for the future computations. Now, as we can see, we already assigned and labeled our linkages. The first one will be from the base up to the center of the next frame. The next one will be from the center up to the center of the next frame. For the third one, it will also start from the center up to the center of the next frame. Then for the fourth link, it will start from the center up to the end effector. As we can see, we already assigned our joint variables. Since this is a prismatic joint, our joint variable will be like this. The first joint is pointing backward since it is the direction of translation of the joint. Same goes with joint variable 2, but it will be pointing on the right side. Then, the third joint variable will be pointing downward since the direction of translation is also pointing downward. Now, let us assign our frames. The DH frame rules. Rule number 1. The Z-axis must be the axis of rotation of a revolute or twisting or the direction of translation for a prismatic joint. We must apply the rule number 1 from the origin pointing upward and label it as Z sub 0. Then proceed to the next frame, which it will be pointing backward, and we should label it with Z sub 1. Then, and it will also be pointing on the right side and label it as Z sub 2. Let's proceed to the third frame. It will be pointing downward, say it as Z sub 3. Then for the end effector, it will be pointing downward and let us label it with Z sub 4. We already satisfied the rule 1, which the z-axis must be the axis of rotation or the direction of translation for a prismatic joint. Now, let's proceed to rule number 2. The x-axis must be perpendicular to its own z-axis and the z-axis of the frame before it. Then, rule number 3. Each x-axis must intersect the z-axis of the frame before it. There are rules to comply for rule 3. We can rotate the axis until it hits the other, or translate the axis until it hits the other. Then, rule number 4. All frames must follow the right-hand rule. Now, we have learned the DH rotation and DH frame rules. We have also applied it to our manipulator. That's all for this video. I hope you understand the DH notation and DH frame rules. And I'll see you on our next video.